The Last Supper served cold. The air in the dining room of the Gilded Anchor was thick and viscous, heavy with the scent of expensive linen, seared scallops, and unspoken accusation. It was supposed to be a farewell dinner, a celebration. My son David had insisted. "A nice send-off before the big move, Dad," he'd chirped, his voice unnervingly bright over the phone. But this was no celebration. This was an execution, served in 3 courses. With a wine pairing I was forbidden to touch. I sat at the head of the polished mahogany table, a king deposed, watching the 2 people I had sacrificed my life for. David, my only son, and Clara, his meticulously curated wife. They sat opposite each other, separated by a sterile expanse of white cloth and my fading hope. "The Chablis is exquisite," father-in-law Clara purred, swirling the pale liquid in a crystal glass. Her voice was like wind chimes made of ice, beautiful but chilling. "A lovely vintage. Not too heavy, which is ideal for keeping a clear head tonight, wouldn't you agree?" The implied emphasis on my supposed lack of a clear head was the first subtle dagger. I simply nodded, my throat too tight for a reply. My plate of rare tuna looked obscene, too pink, too delicate for the coarseness of the moment. David cleared his throat, a nervous, rehearsed sound. He was a successful man, a partner at a top law firm, accustomed to commanding a courtroom. Yet tonight he fidgeted, a schoolboy caught stealing a sweet. His tie, a shade of corporate blue, seemed to choke him. "Dad, look," he began, leaning in, dropping the father for an intimate, manipulative dad. "We need to finalize the details about the move tomorrow." I spoke to the director at Golden Meadows again. "They have a lovely private room overlooking the rose garden. You'll be comfortable." "Comfortable," I echoed, tasting the word like ash. My home, the house I built brick by brick with my own hands, was comfortable. My study, filled with the scent of old paper and pipe smoke, was comfortable. This facility, this opulent, gilded cage, was a place to die slowly, attended by strangers. I looked at David. This was the boy who used to wake me at dawn, clutching a scraped knee, trusting my presence to mend the world. Where had that trust gone? And when did it get replaced by this cold, transactional efficiency? Clara jumped in, seizing the conversational reins. "The paperwork is extensive, Robert. We just need your final signature on the power of attorney transfer. You understand, it's just procedural. We need to be able to manage your account seamlessly, now that you'll have other things occupying your time." She used the word manage as if I were a failing investment portfolio, not a human being with 5 decades of history and autonomy. My knuckles were white against the linen napkin. I finally found my voice, a rusty, low sound. "Seamlessly. Is that what you call selling the cottage on the lake? The one your mother and I spent 20 summers renovating? Is that seamless, Clara?" A flicker of annoyance, pure, unadulterated contempt crossed her perfect face. "It was a necessary liability, Robert. High maintenance, poor insulation. The market is hot. David got us an excellent price. It's smart finance." "It was not finance." I slammed my hand gently on the table, a movement that nevertheless made the silverware jump. "It was a memory. It was where your mother taught David to fish. It was where I planned to spend the rest of my life." David winced, looking around the nearly empty, hushed room, mortified that his private shame was bordering on a public scene. "Dad, please. Don't do this. We're doing this for you. It's too much work for you to maintain the house alone. I had a cleaning service. I had a gardener. I was fine," I insisted, leaning back, trying to reclaim some dignity. Clara smiled, a pitying, saccharine expression. "But you forget things, Robert. The stove incident last month. Leaving the front door unlocked. Dr. Sharma was quite clear. The isolation isn't good. You need the structured environment, the oversight." That word, oversight, struck me harder than any physical blow. It was the moment the humiliation turned absolute. I was a child again, needing supervision, incapable of managing the simple mechanics of my own existence. I was being institutionalized not for a medical emergency, but for an inconvenience. I picked up my water glass, took a slow sip, and set it down precisely. I met David's eye, holding the gaze until his wavered and darted away. "David," I said, my voice quiet, cutting through the silence like broken glass. "You remember when you were 5 and you fell off your bike, broke your arm? We went to the hospital. You cried for hours. Do you remember what I told you?" He mumbled, "No, Dad, I don't." I held your hand and I looked you in the eye. And I said, "And son, No matter how bad the pain is, your father is here. You are safe. You are loved. I spent 30 years of my life trying to make that promise real for you. I gave up my dreams of travel. I worked every double shift. For this moment. For the freedom to look back and know I kept my promise. I paused, letting the raw emotion settle. The waiter, a young man who had seen too much, cleared the scallop plates with excruciating care. Tonight, I realize you are giving me a completely different promise, I continued, addressing both of them, my eyes now burning with a clear, devastating clarity. The promise of neglect wrapped in luxury linens. The promise of silence where there should be family. You are sending me away not because you have to, but because you have decided I am no longer a worthy return on your investment. Clara's practiced composure finally cracked. That is an appalling thing to say, Robert. We love you. This is generous. The monthly fees alone. The monthly fees are your penance, Clara, not your generosity. I interrupted, rising slowly from my chair. I felt the full weight of my 75 years, but I stood tall. And I will not accept them. I reached into the inner pocket of my jacket, pulled out the power of attorney documents, which David had stupidly given me to review earlier, and with a controlled, deliberate motion, I tore them straight down the middle. The sound was a crisp, defiant snap in the cathedral-like quiet of the restaurant. The deal is off, I announced, not loudly, but with the authority of a man reclaiming his soul. I will go to the home tomorrow, yes, but I will go under my own terms. My assets remain my own. I have lived too long to surrender. My dignity over a plate of cold tuna and a glass of judgment. I looked at David, my heart breaking for the man he had become. You have bought me a lavish dinner. Consider your debt paid, but understand this, I will sign nothing else. And when you come to visit me, if you come at all, it will be as a guest. The son I raised. He didn't attend this dinner. I left the ripped documents on the table, a white flag of surrender mixed with a declaration of war, and walked out of the Gilded Anchor. The night air was cold, but it felt clean. Behind me, I could hear a chair scrape back violently, but I didn't look back. The Last Supper was over, and I was finally utterly alone but free.